say yeah? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, yeah. Here we go. Everybody say yeah. 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 I just wanna say. I just wanna say. I just wanna say. I just wanna say. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. I just wanna say. I just wanna say. I just wanna say. I just wanna say. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. To be available to mercy, available to grace, available to you, Lord. Make me what you want me to be. To be available to serve you, available to go, available to you, Lord. Make me what you want me to be. I'm set free. I'm set free. Everybody, yeah!
Hi, I'm Rick Muchow. I started playing guitar when I was in the 4th grade, but my mom put a ukulele in my hand when I was about 4 years old or 3, and I used to just play on it and pretend. I was more like air ukulele guy for the longest time. Played to a lot of records, just listened to a lot of records, and music was always something that inspired me, and every time I heard music I would start moving. And even early on in kindergarten, one time my kindergarten teacher called my mom after the first music class I ever had at kindergarten. She said, "I think Ricky really likes music." And so it's been a big deal in my life ever since I was a little boy. I moved to New York City when I was in 2nd grade, and my mom took me around to all kinds of clubs and Broadway musicals, and one great thing that I had was being able to go to Washington Square Park. They have this big circle. You probably see it in movies. You see this big arch that they have. It's a replica of the Arch of Triomphe in France. Musicians in the 60s would fill that circle, this big fountain, and they'd fill it, and people like James Taylor and Bob Dylan would come in. As a matter of fact, in one of my albums, the home album, there's a picture that the New York Times took of me playing my guitar. It was a plastic guitar with plastic strings, I'm sure, and I was playing my guitar in the circle with all these other people and all the tourists watching. It was a big event. I really started playing. I went to Juilliard to take lessons, and I took private lessons there as a fourth grader, and it was really a great experience. But what really inspired me the most was just playing the pop music. And so I did a lot of that. One day I was playing in the park and my guitar cracked in half. If you can imagine, my plastic guitar I'm playing, and it fell and it cracked in half, and I was just crying all the way home, ran home with my guitar, and my mom took me to this place that would have all these expensive strings and Stradivarius, cellos and such. And he looked at my plastic guitar and he looked at me and he says, and he looked at my mom and he said, "I don't fix guitars, and plastic ones, I'm not sure about plastic ones," but he saw the look in my face, how much I loved to play. And it was just pretty much my mom and I and my guitar in New York City. He took this guitar and he fixed it. And he called my mom and he said, I managed to fix it, and come pick it up. Well, we went back to the store and got it. And then about a month later, we went and tried to find that place. It was nowhere to be found. My mom, if she was alive today, she would swear to this day that an angel opened up this shop and ministered to this single mom and her son. So at that time, music was a huge thing in my life. And through some of the hard times growing up, that was a place where I could go and focus and meditate. And I didn't know the Lord until I was a senior in high school. I remember my friend, my best friend, I was on the phone with him. This was fifth grade, I think, and he said, hey, I know all these songs on the guitar. I know them all. And I said, do you know all those songs? What songs do you know? And he would name them, and I go, oh, I don't know that song, and I don't know that song. And I just started practicing, because my friend knew how to play all these songs. Well, after I learned those, I called him up and I said, hey, Freddie, I know how to play these too. And he goes, you know how to play them? Oh, I just meant I knew them. I heard them on the radio. I said, oh, well, I've been practicing a lot, and now I know them. So, and we started practicing together, and actually knowing how to play the chords. And one of my biggest influences, of course, back in the 60s, it was the Beatles, and then groups like Herman's Hermits and James Taylor and Bob Dylan, even Rolling Stones, and groups like that way back in the day. I had a private teacher in 6th grade that I begged him to teach me how to play the guitar, give me real lessons, and he said he wouldn't for like, seemed like an eternity, but it was about 3 weeks of me asking every day. And I said to him once, I said, please, what do I have to do? And he said, well, I'll give you one lesson at a time. And if you practice your lesson, I'll give you the next lesson. And he was serious. And so I would practice that lesson, and he was shocked when I actually practiced that lesson. So it was one lesson at a time, and then just kept practicing on my own. Fell in love with Kenny Rankin's music. Kind of in my senior year of high school, became a Christian, started playing my guitar anytime I could for church or any kind of group that needed a guitar player or such. And played with a lot of bands. I worked my way through college playing guitar and singing, and I even toured with a group. They sang in Spanish, so I couldn't sing with them, and just played guitar. And by the way, that was a spiritual lesson too, because it wasn't, my heart for ministry was tested when he gave me a support role, and I gladly took that support role, and he really changed my life through that I didn't have to be the guy in the spotlight in order to serve God. That was a huge lesson. And because I had to play guitar a lot, I studied, and I kept playing, and I've been leading worship now for over 30 years, and play piano, learned piano when I was in college. But basically, a lot of my piano foundation came from knowing chord structure that I learned from the guitar, like 1, 4, 5, and those kind of things. I would just translate that to piano. Recently, I mean, I've been playing. Every week I have to learn a new song, and I listen to it, and I try to emulate what is being played on the CD. A cool thing is my son Jordan turned me on to YouTube, and YouTube is pretty neat, all the lessons that they have on YouTube. And we were looking at a John Mayer song, Neon, and it was really cool. And he said, hey Dad, can you help me play this? And well, okay, I'll try, but just looking at the lesson, and oh yeah, you have to tune the string down to C, the E string down to C, and oh yeah, that configuration, stop it, that's it. And just learning by listening and watching and playing a lot has been very helpful to me. The more I hold my instrument, the more I can speak with it, and it doesn't get in the way. It is an accompaniment, but I accompany a lot of other people, not just myself, and so it's something that the more you play, the more you feel comfortable, the more it will speak for you, and you can get past the notes. I've been playing recently with a cut capo. You can use a cut capo that will actually fret the strings for you, the 5, 4, and 3rd string, so the A, D, and G string, and leave the other ones open. And it makes it sound like a drop D tuning, but it's really an E sus tuning is what it is. It's an E sus, so if you can just imagine, you play E and then you're playing the B and the E and the G, A. So bring, like so, and all the notes are open, so that allows you to play all of these open sounds that really are very colorful and have inspired my writing, but also allow me to play something different than the other guitar players in the band with some different colors that I would normally have. A guitar player is especially in today's sound, very important part of the band. But they're not the only part of the band. And I expect a guitar player, number one, to be able to read a chord chart, to be able to play his instrument with musicality, to be able to regulate the volume. You just don't have to be like the loudest thing in the band, and that's part of being musical. Also, how many notes you play. I really appreciate guitar players that will limit what notes they play, and they play the right notes, just not quantity of notes. Knowing what to play, and that takes listening to what the other band members are doing. Particularly in most settings is what are the other guitar players playing and what is the keyboard player playing. And to be listening so that you can take your cue and say, kind of like the servant of all. And how do I, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, learn to be the servant of all. And a lot of times the greatest sound that you hear is that great electric guitar thing. But it's neat when you have a little less of it and then you just speak at the right time. Everybody's listening, it's the right thing. I appreciate my guitar players practicing not only the music they're going to play on the weekend or when we're going to do music together, but practicing during the week. That they take care of their equipment, that they are musicians at heart. I really appreciate my guitarists, not just for being a musician, but also for being a member of the family and being a good team player on and off the stage. Off the stage is really important. Obviously, punctuality, showing up on time, a servant attitude. I really appreciate when I can tell if a guitar player is listening when they have a pencil. I really appreciate them taking notes because there'll be things in the band where we go, oh, that's a good idea. When you write it down, you don't forget it. Some of the greatest musicians I've ever played with, Abel Boreal, Tom Brooks, Paul Jackson Jr., Dave Lopez, they all take notes. They're writing. They're students. They study, and they're paying attention. It's as if it really matters what they do, and I appreciate that a lot. I think a growing guitar player, it's not always in the gear, but it's in what they hear, and that they're listening a lot, and they would have a vocabulary that they go, oh yeah, I know what, say, John Mayer would sound like, or I know what Rolling Stones would sound like, or AC/DC, or name your favorite group, Pearl Jam or whatever. Recently I've been listening to The Fray, and I know that's just a subtly different sound than, say, James Taylor. But the vocal is sweet, but there's some different things going on within it. Piano is moving, the guitar player has a different role to play in that band. So understanding how different sounds are put together is very valuable. I appreciate the attitude probably more than anything. You have to have chops, but having the attitude is the people I want to play with the most. I would say that guitar used to be my God, music used to be my God, and when I became a Christian when I was 17 years old, my guitar got stolen, like right after I became a Christian. So it's like all these good things were supposed to happen, and then the love of my life disappeared, and it was tragic. And I got a chance to get to know the Bible and get to know how to read the Bible and get to know God better. And it was about a couple months, it seemed like an eternity, and the insurance bought me a new guitar, better than the one I had before, and I was able to put things in perspective. I think that's really important, and I don't know if you're a Christian or not listening to this, but it's really important that you put life in perspective, that music is not the most important thing in life, but it's a great language, and it's a wonderful way to express something that's deep in your soul. God bless.
Then sings my